Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project podcast. You are here to discover a life of clarity, confidence, sanity, and entrepreneurial success. And our guest today is exceptional. No, that's not his name, but that's the way he presents himself, and I'm beginning to align with that for myself as well. EA Csolkovits was born in Chicago and started off a business career as commission sales, which most of us do when we haven't been to the big university in the sky. So commission sales is where it's at, but there's more to that, to this author. And I don't even know if we can title him. If I put a title to him, it's insignificant. He is the owner and originator of Givers University. His name is EA Csolkovits, and he is the founder, and I welcome this exceptional human being to my show. Welcome, EA.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for having me. I look forward to being able to share some golden nuggets with your listeners. Thank you for having me on your show.
I appreciate you being here because you are unique, beyond exceptional. You are unique in not only your presentation, but what you do when you talk about givers and takers. And, as I said before the show, it's important to know how to give. People don't know how to do that. I think people are more, on some level, there are certain generations right now who are just taking everything. And people in the past have taken. And that leaves an empty space from where they come from. So how did you decide to create Givers University, and what does it mean to you, and what should it mean to others?
I appreciate that question, and happy to share. It actually, it was a journey for sure, but it came about as a result of a vow that I can give you a little background story on how the vow came about.
Great.
I live in Michigan now, but I was born in the Chicagoland area, and my father was a milkman. So certainly nothing unusual about that, other than the fact that back then milk came in glass gallons. And people had a box outside their house. That was the milkman's box. You know what was interesting, Joanne? There was always money in the milkman box, and no one touched it. Ever. Not one time. Different times. Anyway, and I think they probably went to plastic because of how many gallons I broke helping my father at the ripe old age of 5 years old. But at 16, I became a janitor, and there was two extraordinary events that ultimately led to Givers University that happened when I was in my late teens. At 16, while being a janitor, I was able to be bonded, which means insured. So that means if my buffer hit a piece of equipment or something, the insurance company would pay for it. Well, that also allowed me to be in really expensive places and really expensive homes because of that insurance. And the lady I'm going to mention, whose home I cleaned, the name won't mean anything until I make the movie reference to your listeners. There was a movie out a few years back. It's on streaming now. It's an excellent view. I do highly recommend it. It's called The Founder. It's about McDonald's and Ray Kroc.
Yes.
And Michael Keaton does a great job talking about Ray. And I lived in that area. I lived in Oak Brook, where the world headquarters of McDonald's was for decades. So I lived that whole phenomenon, if you will. And during the movie, Michael Keaton's constantly talking to a lady outside his office. He says, doing this, doing that. She's in the whole movie. Her name's June Martino. That lady is the lady whose house I cleaned.
Wow.
And so, here, I was just fascinated because I always thought that to be wealthy, you had to be nasty and me only and push other people down. And I was so amazed by her. And I would watch her as I was cleaning her house. I was doing heavy work. She had a full-time maid and a full-time butler in this $1 million mansion. Back then it was $1 million. And I was fascinated by her because she seemed so nice and so approachable. And if I was buffing the floor and looking down when she walked to the room, she'd say hello, even if I wasn't looking up. I mean, just that nice. So one day I got up enough nerve and I went to her and I asked her, and she knew who I was. She saw me in there. I was in there every single Wednesday. And So I said, June, and she said, hi. And I said, can I ask you a question? She said, sure. And I said, could you tell me about it? And she said, well, what's that? And I said, well, the whole McDonald's thing. I'm not kidding, Joanne. She put her arm around me, that lady in the movie, and brought me in the kitchen, and the entire day told me the whole McDonald's story from the beginning all the way through to us sitting there in the room, even having the maid and butler bringing us food so she could keep telling me the story. And I kept thinking, man, who's she talking to? This woman, she's so mega wealthy. She's an icon in the area, and she's taking time for this snot-nosed 16-year-old janitor kid, right? Me. I kept looking around thinking if there's someone else in the room, she can't be just doing this with me. And she told me about, and I don't know if you saw the movie by any chance, but it is a good view if you haven't, but there's a part in the movie, first of all, digress. At the beginning of the movie, it says this is based on a true story. That's true. It's based on a true story. It's not the true story. It's all Hollywood spin. The paint Ray was not the way he's portrayed in the movie. That's Hollywood drama and spin to make this drama and make it interesting, right? He wasn't really that way at all. But there is a part in the movie that she told me about personally decades before, and that is that they ran out of money. So she went to Ray and said, we're out of money. And in the movie, that leads to a scene where he argues with the brothers. He wants more percentage, that kind of thing, a little drama scene, which didn't happen that way. But nonetheless, she told me that they worked a deal, that she worked for Ray for nothing. She would keep working for nothing. He would take the phone calls from bill collectors if they called her personally, and he would pay her in worth less than zero company stock.
Excuse me. Yes. Okay.
So I said, June, I got to ask you. I said, I'm a janitor. I work Friday to Friday, paycheck to paycheck. If I don't get paid on Friday, I'm not showing on Saturday. I need that paycheck. Why did you work for nothing? Joanne, I'm not kidding. She sat back in her chair and stared at me with this blank look on her face. And I realized this not no 16-year-old. I just asked her a question no one ever asked her before. Mm-hmm. Everyone to know what happened. No one ever asked her why. So I asked her, why'd you do it? And she sat back and just stared at me with this eye lock. And I could tell she left the room even though she's staring at me. And 15 seconds went by and it seemed like about an hour because I'm going, do. Wondering where I should be looking. And finally she spoke and it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. I still remember what she said, the way she said it, and my first thought after. That ultimately led to Givers University. When I asked, June, why did you do it? Why did you work for nothing? She said to me, because I believed in Ray. And the way she said it, Joanne, it gave me goosebumps and made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. There was so much feeling that she had just had this epiphany as to what had just transpired. And I thought to myself immediately, that's it. If I could find me a Ray Kroc, that's what I need. I don't even know what I don't know. All I know is as a janitor and son of a milkman, all I know is whatever it is, I don't know it. I need someone that can teach me that maybe could be like a Ray Kroc. And so I threw that out there in the universe. And I said, where would I find my Ray Kroc? Where would I find someone that I could believe in like that and that could teach me all that? And it wasn't a few months later, we got a phone call at the same janitorial service as the second event. And my boss sent me over to show some carpeting for a man who immediately hit it off. He was opening up a diamond business in Chicago. He's from Detroit. We hit it off. He offered me a job. I started working for him full time, and he became my Ray Kroc. And I was very, very blessed to have him in my life. He truly was a genius in the truest sense of the word. And I was very blessed to have him and his guidance. And he had earned so many millions and was so happy and all the things that I wanted. So that's why I became such a huge advocate, Joanne, for having a mentor. For your listeners, if you're listening to the sound of my voice and right now you do not have a mentor, we have a term for that we use in my world. That term is naive. That's the word. Because how are you going to do it? I've met so many educated idiots in my life that have all the book knowledge and theorem, but they've never done it.
Yes.
And when you want a mentor that's done it, because with the done it part comes all the mistakes, and all the mistakes are where the wisdom is. It's not in what worked right. The wisdom came from the things that didn't work. Don't do that. Don't do that. So this man became my mentor, and I share with your listeners, when you find a mentor, if you don't have one, and then make sure you ask a question. What have you done? Make sure you don't hire an educated idiot. The world's full of them. All the book knowledge, no implementation and execution skills at all. So you want someone that's done it. So I became an advocate for that. And then when I was 19 years old, I asked my mentor, I said, Sam, his name was Sam Robbins, will you teach it all to me? All of it. Don't stop. I want you to teach it all to me. He said, okay, I will. But I want one thing from you. When the time is right, and you will know that time, I want you to teach as many people as you possibly can everything that I taught you. So at 19 years old, Joanne, I made a vow. I made an oath that today has manifested as Givers University. That's the background story.
How fortunate you were. I mean, seriously, not only were you young when this happened, because some people wait a lifetime and it never occurs, or it occurs when they're older and they don't have the whatever health, mental, whatever it might be that stands in the way, although nothing should stop us ever until we're dead. And even then that shouldn't stop us because we leave a legacy. And you're giving people the legacy at the front end. And I think that it's been popping up in my guests recently and in the universe, my universe recently, is that people trying to tell other people what to do who have never done it themselves.
For sure.
And it's ridiculous. How can they do that? I mean, I know they can have read another book themselves, and they can, reframe the data and then say, oh, you do it this way. But have you done it? And for you to suggest that the listeners, if somebody is coming to them, knocking on their door, hey, hire me or work with me. I know this, I have this method, whatever method in quotes, I say.
Yeah.
And you go, well, have you used the method? No. I'm just going to teach it. Well, hang up the phone or whatever you do. I mean, wait and go and pray and meditate for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, whatever it might be, and ask for the right person to help you to come forth, someone who is experienced. And you met more than one.
For sure, man. I was very blessed. I'll never forget, having to meet June. I had no idea this movie was going to come out or anything else. I mean, but I knew she was an icon, and the impact she had on me when she said that, because I believed in Ray, had nothing to do with McDonald's. Had nothing to do with, and that just the force she said it. And then I just threw it out there, said, I need one of those. Because, here I am, son of a milkman, already burnt out janitor, trying to sell janitorial services on the side in between cleaning bowling alleys at 2 a.m. And so with that, Sam taught me so many things, and I was blessed with so many important lessons in life that I'm able to share with people now through Givers University. And that sort of brings us to, this thing that you mentioned that I think is so germane today is, the people around us, the people that we meet, and, the people we choose to bring close into our life and those we don't. And there's such a skill that's missing today. And I can share with you that I truly believe, and I've done, from April, I had a goal. I did over 200 podcast interviews in 12 months. And I can share with you, not one of the hosts ever said, I know someone else that's teaching that. And it's to my mentor. And if someone said, what do you teach at Givers University? I would simply say one word: discernment. And here's what that means to us. We teach people a skill that's not being taught of how to separate the person who we love from their deeds, which we may not love. Mm-hmm. So I share with your listeners, we love everybody. I say it again, we love everybody, but we teach us observation skill to observe what they're doing, even by virtue of actual checklists. We have one that's called the 25 do's. It goes through, these are the 25 deeds to watch people doing. And from watching them, this observation skill, people learn to begin to discern, because of what I'm watching them do, not what they're saying, but what I'm watching them actually do. Should I now bring them closer into my life and make them a part of my giver community? Or because of what I'm watching them do, should I begin respectfully, not rude or nasty, respectfully begin to distance myself from them? Because if I bring them closer into my life from what I'm seeing, they're going to make me collateral damage. Mm-hmm. So I ask your listeners, think about the fires you stomp out every day. Think about when your stress level skyrockets. Those things have something in common with each other. And the commonality is there's a name attached to them. and no one's teaching people, how do you discern who should I bring in close and who should I mean, it doesn't mean you're rude or nasty or anything like that. It just means that we don't have as much time for them because when we bring them close, we're collateral damage automatically. So we teach people, how do you form these communities around us? Because in our world today, there's very few things that will impact us as much as those around us. Businesses opening and closing faster than ever before. Products being antiquated overnight by other products. Mm-hmm. When it's all done, what do we have left? Our relationships. And no one's teaching the skill of discernment. How do you discern? It's like this one guy said in an interview. I loved it. He said, wow, this is great stuff. I love this givers takers stuff. And I just read this book, and this book said I should have 5 good people around me. And I said, you're right, you should. One question, which 5?
Right.
And all of a sudden he stared at me with this blank look, little orphan Annie eyes. And I said, you see my point? No one's teaching you which 5. I'm a self-improvement guy. I know, Joanne, I'm positive you're a self-improvement person. I'm sure many of your listeners are. Mm-hmm. But no one's teaching us, what about the other guy if he's doing it wrong? What should I do about that?
Well, one of the things that I talk to my people, pick a group of people, but any of the people that I speak to, and I say, it's a dartboard. One of the things, it's a dartboard, and in the center is your crew, whatever you want to call them. But let's today say crew. It's your crew. Those are the, half dozen people that you're going to have close to you. And then you have other people that you push out to the outside. The outside edge is nobody, but people who have come in contact with you, who want to be in your sphere of influence, but you don't want to be in their sphere of influence because they're collateral damage right away, as you say. But I tell people, except for your crew in the middle, most people move in and out of the circle. They don't stay. Some people get smarter and then you'll have them a little bit closer, but you have to look at who you spend some time with. I mean, even in today's world where everybody is, on the internet with their relationships, you really have to look at who you spend time with. And I get really ticked off when people I have quote unquote admired or felt close to do something fatal. And I have to step back and say, they're moving outside the dartboard. They're not closer to me in the dartboard. They're further away from me because I cannot have them pull me into their circle.
It's an excellent metaphor. And as a part of that, I use first of all, to sort of distinguish for people the definition. We give distinction to giver community versus taker community. And those people that we pull in close, that we want to have longer term relationships with. And how do we go about doing that? Years ago, Napoleon Hill did a masterful job in Think and Grow Rich on, defining what is a mastermind group. But back then it was novel. It was something new. So one thing he didn't do is teach people how to do it. How do you do it? He explains what it is. So we began to then define it at a very granular level. All right, how do you do this thing that Napoleon Hill talked about, this mastermind group, as we would call a giver community? So to sort of I want to hit some bullets in the interest of time for your listeners to really give them something very granular that they can sort of get their head around, as to how do you do this thing? How do you build those right people around you or that right group around you? First, I want to help identify for people. There's a word today that I've watched even in the last few years. Maybe you have as well. I've watched it change definitions. And I could use as an example, there's a word that's spelled D-I-E-T. That's the word diet. Years ago, if you went to a meeting with a couple of people, you actually went to a thing called a diet. And then later on, if you got a regular allowance, that stipend was called a diet, a consistent diet. Then as I was growing up, the word diet meant eating habits. It was the way you ate. Today you say diet and it means weight loss. All spelled the same way, exact same word, totally different meanings. So today, the word community, in my opinion, has gone through that same transformation. There are giver communities and taker communities. I ask your listeners, think about this for a minute. Have you had this happen to you where someone said, join our community, be a part of our community. We're all the same mind. We act the same way. And you join it. And then within 6 hours later, they're trying to sell you everything under the sun, right?
Every day.
All right, so that's not a giver community. That's a taker community.
Yes.
It's been designed to take something from you, to money or time or effort or whatever. That's not really a community. That's a customer list, and they should call it what it is rather than doing the bait and switch. Don't call it a community when it's a customer list. And then if I want to find out about your products, I will. But don't call it something that's not and bait and switch me. So I'm going to hit the 7 bullets in our interest of time here. And by the way, I'm going to share with your listeners an easy way to get a real elongated version of all of this. And then go to our YouTube channel, go to YouTube and just type in Givers University, all one word. Look for the playlist that says how to form your own giver community. It consists of 25 2-minute clips, 25 2-minute clips that take you from the process of identifying a giver community versus taker community, all the way through the next 7 steps I'm going to bullet for your listeners, all the way through even the agenda of what you should be doing when you have this mastermind group or this close core of people, and the different distinctions of different kinds of cores or groups of people, or as we call them, juntos. A junto basically is, any group of people that get together for a common purpose. So I'm going to hit the 7 things real quick. And it spells the word discern, DISCERN. Again, they can see it all on our YouTube channel. It's all free. Go there, enjoy it.